I didn't cry at my mother's funeral. Everyone expected me to, especially her. Even in death, she wanted control. So I stood there, silent, watching people cry for a woman who spent her entire life teaching me one thing: how to survive people like her. The first lie she ever told about me. I was 9. She looked at our relatives and said, "She's sensitive. She makes up stories. Don't believe everything she says." That was the moment I understood something most people learn too late. If you control the narrative, you control reality. And my mother, she owned mine. By 16, she had already turned my entire family into her army. Every argument, I was wrong. Every truth, I was imagining things. Every bruise, clumsy girl, always hurting herself. And the scariest part, she never raised her voice. She didn't need to. Her weapon wasn't anger. It was calm manipulation. So I learned, quietly, carefully. I stopped fighting, stopped reacting, stopped defending myself, because I realized something dangerous. People don't believe the truth. They believe the version that sounds calm, controlled, convincing. And I started watching her, studying her, learning her patterns, her tone, her pauses, her timing, because one day I knew I wouldn't just escape her, I would beat her at her own game. At 19, I got engaged, not for love, for leverage. His name was Ion, smart, respected from a powerful family, but most importantly, his mother was exactly like mine. People called her elegant, graceful, classy. I saw something else, a mirror. At our engagement dinner, my mother smiled sweetly and said, "Finally, someone patient enough to handle her." Everyone laughed, even Ion. I didn't react. I just looked at him, held eye contact. 3 seconds longer than comfortable, then smiled softly. That night, he texted me, "Why didn't you say anything?" I replied, "Because I didn't need to. You noticed, didn't you?" That was the first hook. You see, people don't trust loud victims. They trust silent observers. Within weeks, Ion started noticing things. The way his mother spoke over him, the way she dismissed his choices, the way she smiled, but tightened her grip on control. And I didn't say a word. I just agreed slowly, fed his doubts, drop by drop. Dark psychology isn't about lies. It's about guiding someone to discover the truth you want them to see. By the time our wedding approached, he thought he figured it out himself, that his mother was controlling, that my mother was toxic, that I was the only safe person in his life. Perfect. On the wedding day, everything looked flawless. Luxury venue, lights, music, guests. But I noticed something: the seating arrangement. My parents were pushed to the side, almost invisible. Ion's mother stood near the main table, smiling, watching, waiting. She leaned toward me and whispered, "Some people should know their place. Today they'll learn it." I smiled back, soft, polite, obedient. But inside, something shifted. Not anger, not sadness, clarity. Because this was the moment. Years of silence, years of watching, years of learning. Everything was about to pay off. I picked up the mic, hands steady, voice calm. "Before we continue, I just want to share something small." The room quieted. My mother's eyes narrowed. Ion looked confused. His mother, amused. I took a breath and said, 2 weeks ago, I received a document from a lawyer. Silence. heavy, uncomfortable. I looked directly at my mother, held her gaze, didn't blink, and it changed everything I thought I knew about my family. Now people leaned forward, curiosity rising, dopamine spike, hook locked. Ion stepped closer. What document? I turned to him, smiled gently. Something your mother already knows about. That's when, for the first time, her smile cracked. Just slightly, but enough. Because what no one knew, not my family, not Ion, not even his mother, was that I had spent the last 6 months not planning a wedding, but building a trap, a perfect one. And tonight, every single person in that room was part of it. I reached into my dress, pulled out a sealed envelope. Same type my mother once used to control me, to silence me. Funny how things come full circle. I held it up. This contains something my mother tried to hide for 20 years. A gasp somewhere in the crowd. My mother stepped forward, voice still calm, still controlled. Enough drama. Give it to me. I smiled, slowly. No. That one word changed the entire energy of the room, because it wasn't loud, it wasn't angry, it was certain. And for the first time in my life, she had no control over what I would say next. I looked at everyone, then back at her. You always told everyone I was a liar. Pause. So, tonight, let's test that. I handed the envelope, not to her, but to Ion. Open it. His hands hesitated. His mother stepped in. Don't, this is ridiculous. I tilted my head, soft voice. Scared? That one word triggered everything. He opened it, and as his eyes scanned the paper, his face changed. Confusion, shock, then something darker. He looked up at his mother, then at me. This says. He swallowed, hard. This says the property, the business shares, everything in your name. Pause. Heavy, explosive, was transferred to her before our engagement. The room froze. Every eye turned to his mother. And that's when I said the line that destroyed everything she built. You didn't choose me for your son? Soft smile. You chose me for what you thought you could take from me. Silence, crushing, unforgiving. But that wasn't even the real twist. Because what Ion didn't know yet, what NO1 knew, was that the document was only half the truth. And the second half was far worse. I stepped closer to him, lowered my voice, so only he could hear. Read the second page. His fingers trembled, and when he turned it, he whispered something so quietly, but loud enough to change his entire life. This isn't her property. Pause. It's yours. I smiled, and for the first time in 20 years, I wasn't the victim in the story anymore. I was the author, and this was only the beginning. He looked at me like the ground beneath him had just disappeared, like everything he believed about his life, his family, his power, was quietly rewritten in seconds. What do you mean it's mine? He whispered. I didn't answer immediately. I let the silence stretch, because silence is where fear grows. Then softly, almost gently, I said, it means your mother built her empire on something that was never hers. The room was still watching, still confused, still trying to understand what just happened, but I wasn't speaking to them anymore. This was between me, him, and the truth he was about to choke on. His mother stepped forward, her calm, cracking now, just enough. This is nonsense. She's twisting things. I tilted my head, smiled faintly. No, I'm simplifying them. Then I turned back to him, locked eyes, didn't blink. Ask her about the contract signed 21 years ago, the one she buried. And there it was. The shift. Ion didn't look at me. He looked at her, really looked at her, for the first time in his life. Not as a son, but as someone searching for a lie. Mom? One word, but it carried doubt, fear, and something she had never heard from him before. Distance. She laughed, soft, dismissive, trying to pull control back. You're going to believe her on your wedding day? I stepped back, hands folded, calm. Don't believe me. Pause. Just ask her why your father left everything under a conditional transfer. That hit harder than anything else, because now I wasn't introducing new information. I was unlocking something he already knew, but never questioned. His breathing changed. What condition? She stayed silent. That silence was louder than any confession. Dopamine spike, tension rising, hook tightening. I exhaled slowly, then said it. That everything stays under her control, only until you marry someone approved and the assets legally merge. Now the room reacted, murmurs, shock, whispers spreading like fire. And Ion, he stepped back, away from her. You used me? Her voice sharpened, desperate now. I protected you. There it was. The truth always slips when control breaks, but I wasn't done, not even close, because this wasn't revenge yet. This was just exposure. I walked toward the center again, picked up the mic. But that's not the real story. The room fell silent again, pulled back in. The real story started 22 years ago. My eyes moved slowly until they landed on my mother. Didn't it? Her face, for the first time, lost all color. And that's when people realized this wasn't just about one family. This was about two, connected, in a way no one expected. I let the moment breathe, then spoke, softly. The same lawyer who sent me that document also sent something else. Pause. A letter, written by your husband. I looked at her. Before he died, the entire room froze, because now, even she didn't know what was coming next. I reached into my bag again, pulled out another envelope, older, worn, real. He knew everything. My voice dropped. About you. I turned to Ian. And about mine? His eyes widened. What? I swallowed slowly, let the weight of it sit. Your father and my mother. Pause. They made a deal. Gasps, louder now. A deal that tied our lives together before we were even born. Silence, sharp, suffocating. My mother stepped forward, voice shaking now. Stop this, you don't know what you're saying. I looked at her, and for the first time, I didn't see power. I saw fear. And that was the moment I had been waiting for years. I opened the letter. Hands steady, voice calm. If you're hearing this, it means the truth couldn't stay buried. The words echoed through the mic, through the room, through her. We agreed, to secure our family's future by merging assets through marriage. Ion's breathing hitched, but I never agreed to what she did next. I paused, looked at my mother, using a child as leverage. The room exploded into whispers. "What child?" someone asked. And that was the moment. The final lock. The deepest cut. I folded the letter slowly, then said it. Me. Silence. Dead silence. I wasn't just her daughter. I looked at my mother, eyes cold. I was her insurance policy. Ion stepped back again, like he couldn't breathe. "And me?" he whispered. I looked at him. "You were the target." Everything collapsed. In his mind, in hers, in the entire room. But I wasn't finished. Because revenge isn't just about exposing truth. It's about timing it perfectly. I walked closer to him, voice softer now, almost gentle. "There's one more thing." He looked at me, broken, searching. "The property, the shares, everything." Pause. It was transferred. His eyes widened slightly. Hope, desperation. "To me?" And that's when I smiled. Slowly, carefully, dangerously. "No." Pause. "Not anymore." Confusion. Fear. "Then where is it?" I leaned closer, whispered, "Gone." His entire body stiffened. "What?" I straightened, looked at everyone, and said it clearly. 3 days ago, I signed everything over to a foundation under one condition. Silence again, but different now. He whispered, "What condition?" I looked at him. "That neither of our families can ever touch it again." And just like that, everything they fought for, manipulated for, built lies for, disappeared in one move. No screaming, no drama, just checkmate. My mother collapsed into the nearest chair. His mother couldn't even speak. And Ion, he just stared at me like he never knew me at all. And maybe he didn't, because the girl they tried to control, break, rewrite, she died a long time ago. What stood in front of them now was something else entirely, something they created and couldn't control anymore. I handed the mic back, walked past them, without looking back, because the truth is, I didn't win that night. I ended the game. But as I stepped outside, into the cold air, my phone vibrated. Unknown number. I almost ignored it, but something told me not to. I answered. Silence for 2 seconds. Then a voice. "Come, cold, familiar. You shouldn't have done that." My heart didn't race. It slowed, because I knew that voice. I hadn't heard it in years, but I knew exactly who it was and what it meant. "You finally played your move." Pause. "Now it's my turn." My grip tightened on the phone, because if everything I just destroyed was only one layer, then the real game was just beginning. The cold air didn't calm me. It sharpened me. That voice, I knew it too well. Not from memories, from warnings, from things my mother once said when she thought I wasn't listening. Some people don't lose, they disappear. I stepped away from the venue lights, into the shadows. "Say my name," I said quietly, a soft chuckle on the other end. "You already know it." Pause. And then, Call me the man your mother was always afraid of. My pulse didn't spike. It steadied, because fear only works when it's new, and I had been living with it my whole life. You're late, I replied. Silence. Then a shift in his tone. Interested now. Late. I leaned against the wall, closed my eyes for a second. If you wanted to stop me, you should have called 3 days ago. Pause. Before I erased everything. That hit him. I heard it. The smallest pause. The smallest crack. Because now he was adjusting, which meant he wasn't in control anymore. You think this was about money? He said slowly. I smiled. No, I think it was about power. Silence. Then, and you think you took it? I opened my eyes, looked back at the wedding hall, where everything had just collapsed. No. Pause. I think I exposed who was pretending to have it. Another silence, longer this time. Then he spoke again. Your mother wasn't the mastermind. That was interesting, because that meant he was telling me something, not just threatening. I know, I said softly. She was just desperate enough to follow orders. The air shifted again. And now she's useless, he replied, cold, detached. I didn't react, but inside, something clicked. This man wasn't emotional, wasn't impulsive. He was calculated, which meant he wasn't calling to scare me. He was calling to measure me. So, what do you want? I asked. Simple, direct. Because power doesn't beg for answers. It demands clarity. A quiet breath on the other end. I want to see what you do next. I almost laughed. Almost. You build all this, I said slowly, and you're just watching it fall? No, he corrected. I built something much bigger. Pause. And you just touched one piece of it. There it was, the real game. And suddenly, everything made sense. The contract, the deal, the marriage arrangement. It wasn't about two families. It was about a network, a system, and I had just disrupted it. Not destroyed it. Disrupted. I pushed myself off the wall, started walking. Slow, controlled. Then I guess you're going to try to stop me, I said. No, he replied. Pause. I'm going to let you continue. That stopped me completely, because that was dangerous. Why? Asked quietly, a faint smile in his voice. Because you're doing something I've been waiting for. My grip tightened on the phone, breaking weak players, exposing fake power. Pause. You're cleaning the board. I didn't speak, because now this wasn't a threat. It was an invitation, and invitations from people like him always come with a cost. And what happens when the board is clean? I asked. Silence. Then we see if you're strong enough to stay on it. The call ended. No goodbye. No warning. Just silence. I stood there, phone still in my hand, and for the first time that night, I didn't feel victory. I felt something else, something deeper. Awareness. Because everything I destroyed tonight was just the beginning. The next morning, my phone didn't stop ringing. News channels, blogs, unknown numbers. The wedding, the scandal, the collapse. It was everywhere. My name, everywhere. The girl who exposed two powerful families. The girl who walked away from millions. The girl who played the game better than everyone else. But they were wrong. I didn't play the game better. I just didn't play it the way they expected. By afternoon, Ion showed up, alone. No arrogance, no control, just broken clarity. Was any of it real? He asked. I looked at him, really looked at him, and for a moment, I saw the version of him that could have been different if he had questioned things earlier. Yes, I said quietly, the part where you finally saw the truth. He nodded slowly. And the rest? I didn't answer immediately. Then softly, the rest was necessary. He exhaled. You destroyed everything. I tilted my head slightly. No. Pause. I revealed what was already broken. Silence. Then he asked, What are you going to do now? I smiled, but not the same smile. This one was calmer, colder. I'm going to do what I was trained to do. Pause. Control the narrative. That night, I stood alone again, but this time, not as a victim, not as someone escaping, but as someone stepping into something bigger. I opened my laptop, a blank screen. Then I started typing names, connections, patterns, because if there was a network, then it could be mapped, understood, and eventually controlled. My mother taught me survival. That man on the phone showed me the scale of the game. But me, I chose something else. Dominance. Not loud, not visible, but absolute. Because the truth is, the most dangerous people aren't the ones who destroy systems. They're the ones who understand them, and then rewrite them. And this time, I wasn't just part of the story. I was writing it, line by line, move by move, until there was nothing left but my version of reality.